Well, folks, welcome. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to welcome everyone that watches CNBC's Fast Money. I hope there's some of you out there. Hopefully you recognize me from the show. It's amazing that if we get to January, and I always preface that it'll be 14 years on air, and it's been a real pleasure to work with all the wonderful people at CNBC. I'm here with really two amazing people. I'm joined by John Sabino, the Chief Customer Officer at Splunk, and Todd Weber is the Chief Technology Officer of Optiv. And this is going to be a great panel. We named it Punching Above Your Weight. And just quickly in the description, data can be the great equalizer, but only if your organization has the processes, people, and partners necessary to unlock its full value. We're going to talk about how organizations are thriving in the data age by getting the most out of their data and their technology partners. So, John, welcome. Todd, welcome. And I want to thank Splunk for hosting this. That's wonderful. By the way, you learn something new every day, and I did know this, but Splunk is a very mature company. I think 17 years now, if I'm not mistaken, John, $32 billion company. And I encourage people that want to sort of get up to speed a little bit. Jim Cramer, I think, had Doug Merritt on, the CEO, on September 20th, if I'm not mistaken. Great interview. I think you could probably go to the CNBC archives to check that out. But John, thank you. And Todd, thank you.
Yeah. Guy, it's great to be here with you. Thanks for having us today. It's an exciting topic.
No, it is an exciting topic. John, I want to start with you real quick. I mean, the obvious question is the last 7-8 months have really accelerated the world to where we are now. Now, I would suggest we were on that trajectory anyway, but obviously things have moved now at light speed. Can you speak to what you've done at Splunk over the last specifically 8 months, but even longer term, to get ready for where we are now?
Yeah, well, Splunk's been at the forefront of what we've been seeing. And I think, Guy, what we're starting to see is an acceleration of these trends, just like Linda was talking about at the beginning and Lee. The move to cloud has been something that is critical, not just for us at Splunk and how we deliver our services and capability, but for all of our customers. And the mid-market in particular, it's one of these capabilities that allows you to get that cost of ownership down and to bring, scale and capabilities to your company. And then we've also seen this move to remote delivered capability services and customer value. And when you're in the cloud and you're delivering things from a digital perspective, it allows you to start leveraging telemetry. And we're starting to see customers use this data all across their organization to create more value for their customers, but also understand their customers' needs and what they want and how they're interacting with their brand. So this is allowing customers, and specifically in the mid-market, to really disrupt their markets and punch way above their weight. And it's allowing this cycle of innovation to speed up and bring new product, new service to market in a digital fashion in a much quicker way. You can see it remote working, remote services, delivery, you name it. And, of course, it's important that you secure all this. If you have this data and you're using it, you really need to make sure it's secure and you're taking care of it the right way. And I know that's where Todd and Optiv have been great partners with Splunk. So Todd, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, I mean, we see a lot of the same things in that ubiquity of data that people are getting to by putting all of these data stores, and whether it's security data, business data, marketing data, all into the same data stores to be able to take advantage of all of this telemetry side. You have to remember, this is what everybody is after. Everything else is a vector to get to that. Everybody hears about, phishing attacks and everything else. That's great. I mean, but those are all vectors to get to that data. And as all the ransomware is doing, I mean, that is effectively what is the end goal. There may be 3 or 4 steps that attackers take, but that is their end goal structure. So you have to take in a very deliberative fashion as to the technologies that you're choosing, the architectures that you're going forward with. And as you're moving towards those, building those ubiquitous data structures and data lakes, or however you're building them, that you need to have some forms of controls over there, and then fits into the operational processes, even if you have smaller operations teams. And, you can leverage other partners to do that. You can leverage other people, but that's really where we see, businesses going and our clients moving towards.
So Todd, I want to sort of drill down a little bit on that. Obviously, again, think about what's happened. Think about the way people have conducted business over the last 6 months and how we've maybe fundamentally changed the way business is done. How is that accelerated? What has changed at Optiv in terms of how you have to view the world? Because I'm pretty certain that October of last year looks a lot different than October of this year.
Absolutely. And I mean, there are certain things that you hear, particularly in the industry of, you hear terms like SASE that Gartner has coined, and that's basically bringing those security stacks closer to the actual users of companies, as opposed to, it used to be a definition. You had certain controls if you were in the office and then different controls if you were out of the office. And now you have to bring those controls closer. But the second part of that is that data aspect of things, of how do you secure your data and where is all that data going? During the initial parts of the pandemic, we kind of had to, do what we had to do to make things work. And as you point out, Guy, about like what has changed, there are certain things that are for the better, or at least for me personally. I think we all, I never relish going to a hospital or a doctor's office. I love doing Zoom and virtual appointments. However, that presents a whole different set of challenges from a data aspect. Now, my personal data is now across electronic mediums that weren't there before. And how are hospitals supposed to protect that data? And those are the kinds of things that we've changed. And, I think as we were talking about before, some of these were just controls we put on ourselves. They were physical controls that things had to be notarized and you needed a notary. Things had to be done as ink and paper. Those we put upon ourselves as controls, and we've had to modify those controls to digital controls. And within those digital controls, those are subject to manipulation. So we have to change those, our thought processes a little.
John, and I want you to add to that, but quickly, I want to tell the folks, we obviously have a chat room here, so to the extent that you have questions for John or Todd, feel free to type them in. I'll be monitoring that, and I'll ask the guys as I see the questions come in. But John, maybe you can just sort of speak to exactly that question. As a publicly traded company, a very mature company, as I mentioned, a $32 billion company, the world's changed in a year significantly, and my sense is, I know for a fact that Splunk has changed because we've talked about it on our show, and the network talks about it. Can you sort of drill down and give some specifics as to what's?
Yeah, absolutely. What Todd is mentioning is this transition to digital. A very good example is Splunk would typically do a lot of traditional hands-on, in-person services work with our customers. We had to pivot that model in under 2 weeks, and we moved 90% of our delivery to a full digital model where we're delivering it remotely. And what we found is our customers actually enjoyed it more. It started to speed up the cadence of how we interacted with our customers. It allowed us, believe it or not, to have a more intimate familiarity with their architecture and how they were doing things. So, just as Todd was saying, it's not all bad, and it's also starting to speed some other things up. And it also has to do with talent. All of us have seemed to have moved to some form of remote work. We are now able to source talent anywhere we need to globally. And we're finding that it also has some cost and optimization benefits to us as well. And it's starting to force companies to think about digital workflow. And once again, using telemetry in ways to optimize their interaction with the customer, and then look at their own operations and say, how do I get the best and brightest talent to contribute? And you can do that in a remote fashion today. And then how do I look at my go-to-market to say, do I have to physically be there? Is there a better way, a more optimal way that I can deliver this where there's value for me and the customer? And I think everybody's asking that question. And that is the essence of where the opportunity lies for some of the viewers here today.
So I'm going to ask this to you, John, and then I'm going to sort of ask a subset of this question to Todd. How are you making sure, how does Splunk make sure that your customer base, the people you're servicing effectively, are utilizing that technology to its fullest extent? Anybody can buy, I'm going to say this, anybody can buy a Ferrari, but you need to know how to drive it in order to get it to maximum potential. Does that make sense?
Right.
And what?
Oh, absolutely. This is the key part of what any great technology partner needs to bring to the table for you. And this is all about this term of customer success. They need to be able to understand how you're using the product and how you're interacting. And that's the telemetry piece that we've been talking about. You should be instrumenting every part of your business to see what your customers are doing. And then what Splunk does is we use that information to say what features and functionality are bringing the most value to our customers. And our customers are doing that with their customers as well. What part of my website are they interacting with? What products are they looking at? And that helps you with inventory management. It helps you with figuring out where you want to invest scarce resources for a development cycle. And so Splunk takes all of that knowledge and all the things that we've seen our customers do, and we compile it together. And what we try to do is share those best practices with our customers. We try to provide digital learning paths or digital journeys to say, when you might have bought our product for just this one use case, there's these 5 other things that you could be doing with it. And let me show you how to do that. Let me hold your hand in some ways on how to do that. And so it really goes back to this concept of customer success, having the digital touch point, and then really selecting technology that allows you to not just use it for one use case. Data doesn't have a tag on it saying it's security or operations or commercial data. Data is ubiquitous throughout your company. And Splunk's perspective on it is bring a data to everything platform or a data fabric to address your short security concerns, and then use it again in your operational challenges and things that you're looking at. Or in a commercial context, how do I serve my customers better? So this is all about adoption. And I think when you create those options for customers, they buy something for what they think they need today. You solve that very quickly and support them with your best practices. And then you show them what the next steps are. And when customers get really good at it, they start innovating with you and for you. And you can follow them along that innovation path and use your resources to bring things to market that really matter and have value. And that's what we've been doing at Splunk.
That's a great answer. So Todd, obviously you're on the flip side of this coin, and I'm sure that you can then amplify and speak to how Splunk has helped you down this path and what you're learning yourselves and how you're integrating. And, you know, have you taken it from point A to point Z as quickly as you would like? I'm sure, does that question make sense?
Oh, makes total sense. And as John was saying, to tail on to what he was saying is, as we've gone through this, you know, as we're going through this digital transformation side of things, and I know that's a continuing theme going here, is that, you know, security becomes closer and closer to the revenue side of the business, meaning as opposed to just being a control within the internal things of what I won't let internal employees go do. Now it becomes an integral part of the business. How am I protecting my clients' data? How am I actually interacting with my clients? How, you know, I mean, all of those things have security aspects. And because of that, it presents different challenges. Things don't work the same way in the cloud as they do on the premise aspect. And traditional, and finding talent for people who actually understand those architectures and understand that, you know, I need, you know, security telemetry in point A, B, and C instead of Y, you know, Z and number 1. It's just, it's a different aspect. And that's where we try to interact with our clients, is trying to, you know, take the trial and error out for them of we've done this before. Let, you know, if instead of you trying to figure this out, and this is where we see clients who, you know, they're rushed and they're moving fast and they're really going forward. If they make certain infrastructure decisions or make certain decisions that can limit them later down the line, and once it becomes a revenue producing application, good luck on actually changing things.
Yeah, if I could build on that, guy, I mean,
really glad you asked that, because obviously, you know, I come from I was a commodities trader, not to bore the tears out of everyone, but for me, everything was a P&L, right? So everything has a profit and loss associated with it. And when you're spending money on technology, you're spending money. So I think there's a conception, I believe a misconception, although I think those concerns have been assuaged over the last 6 or 7 months, that this is just a cost. When we enter into a relationship with Splunk, it's just a cost. But I would push back, and I know John can speak to this. I'm going to let you. The cost, there is clearly a cost, but the back end, you probably make it back 5 times in terms of the integration. Is that the value proposition?
Yeah. Yes. When technology is used effectively, it helps you deliver on your commercial purpose and optimizes the bottom line. And, you know, Todd was saying security was this, you know, almost people would think of it as a limiter or what I'm not supposed to do or what I'm going to restrict being done. I'd argue today, security is part of brand enhancement, something that the mid-market has, and you have a level of trust with your customers, and you want to reinforce that with world-class security and capability. Additionally, from Splunk's perspective, leveraging that data in a context to make sure that you have the most efficient operations and can pass some of that value on to your customer in the back office, and make sure that you're moving in a way that is mistake-proof or a little bit more digitized, taking human error out of it, allows for a much better customer experience. So while some people are looking at these things in their silo, at Splunk, we see it all together, which is if you can secure it, build that trust, become more efficient and smarter in how you operate, you ultimately create a better customer experience that makes a customer want to come back and expand and use you as a strategic partner rather than a vendor. So I agree with you. Technology is not just a cost, and it's not just cost out. it should also be used as a growth lever. And when you have those three things together, it produces some magic for some companies. And that's what we're seeing right now.
So I'm glad you said that as well. And Todd, so it's interesting how terminology, the interpretation, you mentioned vendor, I hear vendor, and I don't think relationship, but I hear strategic partner, and then the wheels start to spin. When you, and I can't speak to how long Optiv has been in a relationship with Splunk, but I'm sure you entered into it with one thought process, and now you're at the other end. Is that how you feel? There's an actual strategic partnership that is absolutely enhanced?
Absolutely. And I get a little smarmy here by saying, you know, vendors is who you buy your pencils from.
Right.
Your partners is who you build your relationships upon and who you go to market with, and you put your common reputations upon, and that we trust Splunk to maintain our reputation as well as, you know, the vice versa. And, you know, as we go through this whole, you know, and I'm using kind of technical terms, but I mean, you know, the shift left mentality of everything is shifting more towards revenue. And you see the security technologies that are coming out today are very different than, you know, they fit into the whole theme we were just talking about. They're not necessarily just saying, oh, let's put a control structure around this and control this piece of data or control this piece of flow. It is more about now, how do I accentuate a piece of data to put it towards revenue? How do I make it easier for developers to get this into production securely? How do I, you know, I mean, those are the types of technologies that I see. And as, you know, as companies are choosing their technology stacks, they have to put those into their decision criteria. And that's, you know, and then, you know, having partners to help them make those choices and point those things out. These are how to get technology closer to your revenue side and closer to your clients. And that whole journey of what John mentioned too is putting it as part of a branding aspect and not just a cost to be minimized.
Yeah, and
you're buying the ecosystem, not just technology.
Yeah,
that's right.
And no, I was going to say there's a term that's used that I have not used now in the 15 years or so I've been with the network, and that term is the markets hate uncertainty, because my point all along has been, when is there ever certainty about anything? But there are now degrees of uncertainty, and I think we're in the midst of one now, having nothing to do with politics. But if you think about, you know, talking about the mid-market customers, I'm sure there's a lot of unease right now going on in terms of where we are in the economy and stuff. How are you assuaging some of the concerns that you, no doubt, your client base has right now?
Yeah. I'll jump in first here on this guy. Look, there is actually one piece of certainty we can give everybody. This digital move is happening, and it's happening fast. This we know. And I think the uncertainty produces opportunity. And I believe that smaller, more nimble companies are able to innovate and experiment quickly during these times of uncertainty that will give them a competitive advantage. And so this whole topic today of the technology select, securing it, the ecosystem that operates around it, this is the exact time that you want to try the things that you might have been hesitant to do because you were trying to preserve a revenue stream or your cash cow in your business. You've done a lot of investment in it. This is the time to make these changes and experiment with some of these things. And you can do it in a digital way, which is faster and in many cases less expensive. And you don't have to commit as heavily, I think, as if you set up an entire manufacturing line. So long story short, yes, it is in a time uncertain. You can't predict politics or world health situations. But one thing you can say is that the world is becoming more and more comfortable in their digital interaction. It's becoming more important. It's speeding up. And you need to start getting in the game, have a strategy, and select the right strategic partners to help you move forward and leverage your data. That's the essence and the secret sauce of who's going to be successful. Who can make the most of intel.
I agree with that. And I'm sure, Todd, you have some thoughts without question in terms of, you know, levels of uncertainty. There's never certainty about anything. And, you know, to John's point, the willingness to invest in a time where that might seem somewhat counterintuitive.
And this is where, I mean, you know, fortitude and everything else comes into play. But, you know, as John points out, this is the time for opportunity, the times of uncertainty, the times of, this is where opportunity and mid-market type companies will have the ability to move faster. And because they are more nimble and they don't have near as much tech debt as some of the larger companies, and some of the companies that I deal with, trust me, they're still dealing with Fortran and COBOL, which is popular when I was in college, which was not a short time ago. So, I mean, as people can invest in these things and to the time of uncertainty, I love what John, you said there. Focus on what we do know is certain, what we do know is going to happen, and get comfortable with the things that we know are going to stay permanent, instead of trying to think about, well, as soon as X or Y happens, the election or the pandemic or whatever recedes, that things are going to go back to normal. Some things aren't going to go back to that way. And I think one of the featured panel people said it, he's like, don't focus on like what we're going to go back to. Focus on where we have to become comfortable, and then make your investments in that, with that context frame of mind, and how to use technology in that frame of mind.
I'd also argue invest in your people as well. Lee was right on in the last segment. Yeah. That's a key thing. The talent you have, invest in them now to give them the skills to get ready for the next cycle.
I can't emphasize that enough, because you think of just from the security aspect of things, beyond everything else, the security aspect of things, every piece of ransomware that I see these days it's a user interaction function. Somebody has to click on something. Somebody has to, it takes a form of a person to interact with it to make it work and to weaponize it. Investing in your people and understanding how this is affecting not just their work lives, but how it affects their personal lives, and investing them and helping secure their personal lives is an investment in making sure that your employees are happy, comfortable people too.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because we did a segment on the show a few years ago where basically one of our producers sent an email, and I was convinced I wasn't the one that's going to get hacked, and of course I was the one that seemed extraordinarily innocuous. And you mentioned Fortran. I tweeted out something about Fortran the other day, and the OK boomers that came back at me were
I was waiting for that.
John, in the last, we have about a minute left. Just in terms of what you want to leave this audience with, and then Todd, you can follow up on that.
Yeah, very quickly. This is the time to really think about this concept of bringing data to everything, every question, every decision, every action. There are a lot of technologies that you can use to help move you on that journey. But I think it's very important that you are looking at strategic partners that understand how your industry and ecosystem is transitioning. They can provide you with the best practices and the support that you need through the transition. They have a very strong partner ecosystem like Splunk does with Optiv that can help you optimize how you want to bring technology to your business, and really double down on it right now. And you can't just throw stuff at the wall and hope it works. You really need some people to help guide you through this, and a partner that you can trust to help you pursue the right opportunities. And last but not least, do it in a secure way that continues to build trust with your brand. And I think that this segment for the mid-market really is important in that they have the ability to make these moves quicker and at a scale that many others can't. And if you do it the right way, you'll look back on this time as being one of some concern and uncertainty, but a change that propels your business to the next level. And that should be something that's exciting for everybody.
Todd,
I know it is.
I'm sorry,
yeah.
John. Thanks.
Yeah, and I'll just tag on to what John said. It's about being an opportune time to make investments into both your people as well as into your business that fundamentally fit into the shift of the new world. And just, but do it smart, make sure you're doing the right things for yourself, and doing deliberative, no matter how the economics may want you to move maybe a little faster than you want. You want to move fast, but you do want to move smart.
Listen, I appreciate Todd Weber from Optiv. Thank you for your time. John Sabino from Splunk, I want to thank you. I also want to thank Splunk for hosting this panel. Folks, I encourage you to go back to the main stage. Thank you, folks, for spending your time, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks so much, guys. It was
Thank
wonderful.
you all.
Great seeing you, Todd.
Great to see you.